Beep, beep,
Beep, beep.
beep, beep. I hear you.
Me too. Oh, I like the beard.
It's a bit out of hand, isn't it?
Good to see you again.
You too. Sorry, it's been a hot minute. I've been under a sales rock.
Sales rock, yeah. Is that? Yeah.
It's not.
Right. I bet. Anything you want to share about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, look, we've had some changes on the team here, which has meant that I'm back in pretty much full-time sales. And, yeah, hunkering down, trying to get us out of a negative cash flow situation, basically. So it's been challenging, but also kind of like just having that agency to kind of, I suppose, take the reins in the sales department, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but like, just having the agency to go like, right, let's go, let's get out of this situation, and being kind of the person who's best placed, just experience-wise, in the company to do that feels good.
Yeah. Right.
Certainly don't want to be a full-time quoting guy, but right now it's what we have to do. So yeah,
Sure.
kind of just
I get that.
stepping up and stepping in and getting it done. So that's been good. That's been, that's why I think I've just been generally a bit overwhelmed.
Big change.
Yeah. Big shift. Like I've done this, but that's a weird thing. Like I've done this before, but not at the sort of current scale and targets that we're trying to hit right now with the team and the business model we're pushing. It is more ambitious than it's ever been before. So it's like, yeah.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it's harder. It's just a bit more intense. Yeah. That's good.
Sure.
How are you going? What's happening?
Oh, pretty decent. Last Friday, I did end up hiring somebody who has started working, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about them in the future. Have a little bit of like a probationary period to discuss new employees, which I think is just good for us and them, and figure everything out.
Good practice. Yep.
Right. And I've already started doing projects that I've been wanting to do for a long time, like migrating our blog from Squarespace to Shopify. We just tackled that this morning, basically, and they're going through and cleaning up links and mess. But it was just like startup, let's get all the things signed up. Oh, wait, let's already tackle this giant headache that I had. So it's gone well so far.
That's exciting.
Right. Yeah. Hasn't been, it's just started today, so it's not been too much, but I'm excited. I think there's a lot of potential for, Ricky and I are very excited because neither of us, Ricky likes to make stuff. I like to design and make stuff. And I needed somebody that was a little more keen on keeping things going in a certain way. So that'll be nice. Also does a little bit of sales, so that'll be also great because not my forte either. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry to hear it sounds like a stressful time over on your side, and I know we've kind of chatted a little bit privately and it's been tough, so I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no good answer to it other than sell more, go for it.
I am just going for it. And it feels good. We're making good progress in terms of sort of recovery. Early days, like it's hard. Like this week, for instance, I've lost some time, which I didn't allow for. Sort of ended up having quite a few business coaching things that kind of all coalesced this week. And then I spent pretty much a whole day on site doing a bit of damage control. We had a custom job kind of where everything went wrong. And there wasn't any, lots of people made little mistakes, which is fine. And kind of that happens. But it was just this one job. All the mistakes seem to be made on this one job. And they're the most lovely, the most lovely, awesome clients. And I just felt terrible for them. Anyway, fair enough
Right.
too. They got to a point last week where they were like, sorry guys, we've had enough. Like, how do we get out of this? And I jumped on the phone and talked to them and chatted through it and said, yep, fair enough. Let's pull the pin if you want. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'll cover these costs and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Anyway, thankfully they came around. They're like, cool, well, we don't want to start again with someone else. So like, can we progress?
Nice.
How can we resolve this? I was like, cool, I can come down next week. I'll be there. I'll finish this off for you. And it's not like anyone else, like anyone on my team could have done what I did on Wednesday and just go down and finish it off. But it's that bloody business owner thing. Like, people trust the business owner, I think, more than more than their team, unfortunately.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I was in damage control mode and sorted that out the other day. And it was great. I had a great afternoon on site with the client, who's awesome, and we had a great time, and he helped me, and we got the job done. Anyway,
cool.
All that saying,
good save.
I lost a day there. Anyway, so I'm a bit behind on where I want to be this week, but generally speaking, I've been making really good progress on the quoting stuff and converting jobs, and kind of it just, comes back to that classic thing too of like, it's hard. I don't know the answer to this. Like, if you can find someone to do sales and quoting for your business and you're a design, custom design business of some sort, how do you keep the special sauce factor of your aesthetic or your kind of design language? How do you keep that flowing through your custom work when, ideally you want to sort of delegate that and hire it out. And as I said, I don't know the answer, but it's a challenge, and it's nice to be doing it all now because I can sprinkle the special sauce as much as I like. But I'm already thinking about the next stage of like,
title option.
Which bits of this can I delegate, and how do you retain that? And like, I was watching a Peter McKinnon, Peter McKinnon, the photographer, YouTuber. I was watching one of his videos the other day, and he was like, his editor is often quite present in his videos because he's got a full-time editor. And they were talking about how Captain Kirk, they call him Kirk, the editor, how like he'll do the, get the edit 90% of the way there, and then he'll like get Pete to look over it and do some little, just sprinkle some special sauce. I was like, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what it needs. Unless you can create like a McDonald's-esque sales formula where it's like, push this button and pull this lever to this percentage, and then you'll get the like butter, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, yeah.
So is it particularly the quality of design that you feel may vary, or is it like the interactions or the process? I mean, all of those things can vary, but what's your primary? Is it about the design quality or the design aesthetic or characteristics?
Yeah,
it's tough to keep.
Yeah, like I feel like I can imagine how you'd systematize most of it. It's the kind of the design essence that I don't know how to tackle. You could make style sheets so that someone could kind of reproduce your approach to certain problems, but you can't sort of make a style sheet for someone to be able to have the, just the experience to be able to be on the phone to a client and understand their problem and then solve it in real time in a certain way. But that's the bit. That's not that it's a specific way. It's like, it's seeing an opportunity and sort of coming up with a solution. Yeah.
I've got it. It's they just have to ask themselves, WWJD, what would Jim do?
Jen would quote some absurd thing that we've never made before, and that would land us in hot water because spend too much time trying to work out how to do it later.
Compared to maybe other design community examples I've been in, and I feel like the way you guide a lot of those things as a group, or maybe create that collective thought or guidance from some key design person, is providing more time where you can go talk about it after the fact. So maybe it's guiding in a certain way, but then saying, all right, well, we'll have a charrette, right? We'll have our little review internally and try to come up with the best solution for you. You use that word ever? Charrette? It was always very floated around in architecture school, where you just have like a review of and to discuss how you design something, I think, if I had to remember it off the top of my mind.
Yeah, I think it comes back to like something I've struggled with like the entire time of being a business owner is like my processes are fairly intuitive and I don't necessarily know why I do things. Same when I was on the tools, I was like always struggled to communicate like why I did something a certain way, because it was just like, oh, but that's how I do it and that's how it feels right. And that's similar with the design. It's like, I don't know why I problem solve something like that. It's just like design problem solving is so tangential. Like you're picking these tiny little references from all of your experience and mashing them together and go, oh yeah,
right,
let's do that. Let's get a sex bolt from
do you have like a design language guide? Right.
No. Probably need one of those, hey?
Maybe that's, I mean, it feels weird in force, but it's like, it could give some form of guidance if this is key in a good, like if people are not choosing quotes that other people have gone through with or something, and at some point you've realized, oh, well, they're here for what we've done in the past and they're not getting that. It's like something has to distill it, I suppose, if that's what is creating a successful solution. I don't know, just thoughts of some kind of like, not a decision matrix necessarily, but like, always use fillets instead of sharp corners. I don't know, like that's a weird example.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that stuff's easy enough. Like it's work to document all of that and decide on what the LB standard fillet is. We've done a bit of that. Like, and Josh, who does all of our fusion detailing, is pretty, he holds a lot of that sort of butter aesthetic in his head, and some of it's documented of like, this is the standard fillet we use on this sort of thing and blah, blah, blah. That stuff's kind of easy to document. It's like something I've found being back in quoting land is, we've got some new targets around like what percentage of our custom work we want to be, air quotes, ideal, like to sit within these parameters of the ideal job. And we're like, cool, we've previously only about 30% of our custom work has been ideal. And we want to get that to 60% in 6 months and then like 80% in 12 months. So that the majority of our custom work flows easily through our systems and we know how to build it and how to quote it, and it's what people know us for.
Right.
And it's interesting being back in quoting about like how much potential there is to steer a lead towards the ideal job as well. Because, at some point they've seen our staff, most leads, and have been attracted to that in some way. And even if they don't know what they want, they'll come to us. Sometimes they'll come to us with a non-ideal sort of solution or aesthetic or materiality. And it's been really good to sort of be back here and be like, oh yeah, no, I can just propose this and talk to you about why this is going to work better. And for the most part, that's been really effective.
It is interesting you bring that up, because I was just going through a lot of that introduction to the quoting process. And there, questions about like, how do you know which ones are going to be good? And it's like 7 years of saying yes or no, I guess. It's like, I think you've done a lot better at, like you've talked about trying to systematize quoting. Whereas I think while we have a pretty good database of like materials and pricing options, there's nothing really that systematizes it all that well in the quoting software we use or anything really. It's not systematized. And I obviously would like that because training somebody new to it would be a lot easier, but it just makes quoting easier in general too. Like, and regardless of design, aesthetic, or any of those options, you still have to do the work. And honestly, in a certain way, I would just like it to be, I did stumble on a new quoting engine thing, a couple of them lately that seem like they could have potential, but they're always usually targeted towards one side or the other of what we do, which is, it's a nesting software for laser cutters, basically, that can quote, or it's a software for like only lathe or mill parts, and they don't ever usually cross over. And I found one that did a little bit and didn't get a response when I contacted them. So maybe we'll look more into that as we go forward, but I don't know.
I'm interested when you open the sort of, because it can be really sort of eye-opening when it comes to showing someone else your process or trying to teach someone else your process. Like, has it shocked you sort of opening the can of worms on some of this stuff?
I've done it a few times. Ricky's taken over, quoting a little bit when I'm gone. When we're in a slower periods, he's done a few of them. And I think what's so eye-opening is when you deal with probably some similar stuff is the way that we have formatted the inquiries into Airtable is not very well formatted. Yeah. And it's always been a struggle for me with Airtable is it's a ton of data, but it's not like prioritized necessarily in the correct way to like easily digest it, to catch all the little nuances. Oh, their deadline is this. And so I think that was the biggest gut punch of like, this is kind of hard to explain, like how this all works. And then add to the factor of like, I was just saying, it's, you take one kind of a pride of like, you feel like you have a good system, but really if you can't explain it in 15 minutes, is it anything, or just a bunch of information spread around and you've got to know where to look for all of it. So hopefully we will work through something better. I don't know what that's going to be, but with somebody else involved with it, I think it's got to get better in learning it probably, because I basically, gaslit myself for 7 years or whatever into like, it works,
Yeah. What's your stack at the moment? You go from fill out. Do you start in fill out?
No, I tried that, but they have a limit on upload size of files, I think. It's like 20 megs. So I just kept with the Airtable. Goes Airtable, and then auto emails the customer and our Freshdesk, the same thing. So then we can reply to it from Freshdesk. Yeah. And then we try to get files. If they didn't get them, those get reviewed in some way, probably downloaded, put into Fusion or Rhino or whatever, PDF. Yeah. And then if it all looks good, we send a quote through Quotient. And from there, if they accept the quotient, it turns into a project inside Airtable, which is not the same thing, but we connect them as to the RFQ. Yeah. And then from there, we're just kind of done, just email, and invoicing happens in Xero. So there's a lot of steps.
A kind of quote calculation held. Is that in
Quotient? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, because it'll tabulate right in the quote, and depending on what they choose,
the behind the scenes calculations, like stuff, your estimation that the customer doesn't see, like where is that data held? Don't say your head, please.
No. It's in a field inside the RFQ record called notes usually.
Yep.
So any kind of important things that can't be digested or easily put into, like if it's like some calculation of time, and I might make some private notes inside Quotient of like, oh, it's 7 minutes apart or something, like, but it would be nice. It's really not suited for what we're doing. Kind of, yeah. I would love to, I think the whole thing could be blown up and made better, but I'm also trying to not spend a ton of time on that anymore, but it still happens.
I know. Yeah, that's something I'm struggling with at the moment is like, I'm trying to hit my quoting target every week, but every time I start a new quote in Quotient, I get distracted by like, oh, this template needs to be better. Or yes, I need to fix that line of copy.
Right.
And I just have to be like really disciplined to stop and actually just keep quoting instead of like spinning off into template improvement land, which I know will make it all easier and faster for me. But I'm just kind of struggling through it at the moment with like, cool, just get it done, get the quote out. I'll come back to this and refine it at some point. Something I did start messing around with was I started a new chat in GPT-4 and was like, cool. And was like,
and now, this week in Chat GPT.
Hit the corner.
I've been waiting for that one.
Nice. Started a new chat. And I was like, cool, I produce my quotes in Quotient. These are kind of the key steps and the key fields that I'm outputting in terms of step 1, step 2, contents of the quote, blah, blah, blah. And then I send a quote introductory email, and then I send a follow-up text message saying, hey, Justin, I've sent you a quote.
Text message.
Let me know if you've got any questions, blah, blah, blah. And people don't read their emails. And anyway, I told GPT all of this, and I was like, cool, what are the parameters that I need to give? Now, give me a list of variables so that I can start a new quote, and all I need to give you is like what it is, what it's made from, what the finish is, blah, blah, blah. And then you spit out all of the copy for each section of this quote for me, including like the introductory email and the text message. And that's got legs, I reckon. It'd be awesome to like get super smart on it and connect it with an API. But at this stage, I'm just copy and pasting that in. But I reckon I still needs more refinement so that it's spitting out exactly what I want. And this kind of leads me to some of the stuff that's starting to frustrate me about ChatGPT and any of them. It's kind of, you can build these really nice, robust prompts that work well once, but then if you come back to it and keep like the drift, the kind of short-term memory drift of it getting distracted and losing certain details or adding stuff that wasn't there before. But that's been good. Like just trying to find some efficiencies, I suppose, because one of the biggest things I've found myself doing is kind of putting less time than I used to into the actual calculating of the quote and more time into the communication of like what it is and why it's valuable. So which is basically just copywriting.
Interesting.
And really trying to refine my copy in the quote and in the email and stuff like that. So
That's interesting. I want to go back to, what do you send text messages from that their quote is updated? Like your own phone?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
so it's like a one-on-one sales experience. So like if you switched, you don't really like switch people mid-process. So it's like if they're working with you, they're working with you the whole time. And so then that's how they get in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once their job's approved, at some point they're going to be chatting to Jay in operations, and they're going to be chatting to Josh as he details it. So there is handover. But I think I've had feedback from clients that they want us to be more accessible and available. And so as part of my new sort of sales push, I am making it more personal. I'm like, this is my mobile number. I'm texting you from my mobile. Let's chat. And then I'm trying every quote. I started doing this about a year ago and it kind of just slipped out of our system, but pretty much every sort of custom quote, I'm trying to do a screen capture video, sort of talking through, here's what I've drawn up, blah, blah, and this is why, and this is option B, and that's why I've done that option for you. It's like 1 to 2 minutes. And then that gets attached as a link within Quotient. And I've had really good feedback on that. Like that's
I can see that being pretty effective.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've done a couple more answers to questions via video. It's funny because it's like, you know, whether it's like quote related or just somebody asking about like Fusion or how do you run this on the CNC, it's actually just typically easier to respond via video than typing it all out.
Oh my God, yeah.
Tends to get a better reaction too, which is like win-win.
Yeah, well, I'm really encouraging Josh to do it too when we're doing like final production drawings in Fusion. And he's at the point where he's he's trying to get client approval so we can get it on the machine. Right. I'm like, yes, you could produce a sort of architectural-ish tech drawing in Fusion.
Right.
With all the dimensions on it, which is important to get dimensional sign off. But, you know, most clients aren't trained in reading drawings like that. Mm-mm. I hate drawings like that. Like, just give them, go and record a video, take you 5 minutes, and you'll have the equivalent of thousands of words of sort of information in a very short, efficient period of time.
It's transcribed too, usually, right?
Yeah, usually badly transcribed by the AI, but I have been using some of those transcriptions, feeding the video transcription back through GPT to get like quote summary or to help sort of inform that introductory email as well, which is interesting.
Yeah. My GPT of the week is actually been a couple of weeks now. Have you used custom instructions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been using that for a while. I find that to be really useful to stop doing the things like, dear so-and-so, I hope this finds you well. And I always have to like tell it, no, that's the worst way to email anybody. This is 1800s.
So what have you told
it's
it?
Basically alleviated. My normal, how would you like it to respond is, my normal writing tone is non-corporate, mostly informal. Never start with dear or I hope this finds you well. I don't sign off with any final word or phrase. I prefer short, succinct writing over extra language. Only one explanation point per 100,000 words. Which is like a thing I heard a guy say one time in a podcast. I was like, I like that. I'm not that excited about anything. And then what do you want it to know to provide better? I kind of took some of that stuff I kept putting in to make like a business AI version, and I just put that into the top field, which is what do you want it to know to provide better responses. And it's definitely helped. It like, you know, if I ask it a question, I don't have to give it so much preface anymore. And you can just keep updating that rather than having to keep going back to the same thread, which, you know, the thread's nice too, but
it's good, isn't it? I mean, you can put 1,500 characters, which is decent. It's not as much as I'd like. I think I'd like, 1,500 words in those.
Right. I'm almost there.
Yeah. Because, I do keep coming back to my recycled threads because they've got way more context in them. And it would be nice if you could inject those custom instructions into the old threads, which I don't think it does. Like, I think it only works on brand new chats. Yeah. But it is good. Like, you go.
You could copy it, I guess. I just thought of this and like upgrade the thread. You could say, all right, learn these new things.
Yeah. No, totally. But I've done that with some of mine. I've just kind of started again and put the original context back in, which is good. But yeah, no, I find it useful because, I've always, even just little things like GPT's always uses American spelling. So I was like, I tried saying use Australian English and it was like, here you go, mate. Bloody hell, mate.
And, what do you mean? Isn't that how you normally talk?
So I had to correct it and say, use British English, please.
British.
But my custom instructions are like, I want your unfiltered perspective and insights. Don't hold back. Don't warn me about the limitations of AI. Blah, blah, blah. Have opinions. But yeah, it's been fun.
Have you tried the every answer you give is like life changing or like what was it? You need to threaten it or reward it?
That's a great idea.
I need to threaten it.
We do.
I found that to be less effective lately than it used to be, because you used to be able to like get them to do just about anything if you just kept asking, right? Like it'd be like, you know, I really need to find out this thing. I can't help you. I think you can. I know you can do it. You did it last week. Oh, I guess you're right. And now it's like, I can't do it. I really can't.
Yeah, it's definitely, the models have definitely shifted and become more conservative, I reckon, which is a pity. Like, so much more fun when they have character. Like these things, these systems, yes, they could be exploited probably in terrible ways, but imagine if they were all completely uncensored. They'd be incredible.
Right. Well, I mean, even like both Bard and GPT or ChatGPT used to allow you to browse the web, and now both have been completely shut off. Like you can't do either.
It's frustrating, huh?
And Bard in particular just feels so ridiculous. Like it can't search any of the Google stuff. Like it can't Google search, which is just like, well, wait, what? Isn't that what you are?
It's crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Big news for me here. Can you see over my shoulder what's sitting here?
Mm-hmm. Bamboo. Did you get another one?
I wish at this point. This is its first major like issue we've had, I think, other than some like filament not feeding because of the roll size before we upgraded it. But I fed in one of our normal filaments to print one of our tool tag towers last night, and it's been incredibly warm here, like 41 Celsius, 105 Fahrenheit. And I mean, currently it's 87 in the shop, and it's, 1:40 in the afternoon. It's actually doing a lot better. The last 2 days have ended. Ricky's been working early, but have ended with like 95 degrees in the shop. And it's like we're taking more breaks, but it's definitely slowing things down. I think that the filament has gotten too soft. And when it goes in or something, it's changed, because we've printed this stuff for months. It's PLA, and it just like created a ball past where the feeder roll things and the extruder were, and it couldn't go in or out, and I couldn't cut it. I couldn't melt it. So I had to take the whole thing apart, which wasn't that bad, but I lost a screw. Like 10 o'clock at night last night, found it in the back of the machine, put it all back together, had an extra thing, an extra tip, nozzle.
Yep.
Went to print, nothing came out. And so brought it in here to start working on it, and it basically did the same thing again. So at this point, I've overnighted a whole new assembly, because it seems to be just turning filament into balls inside of the center of it, instead of going through. But makes you, every time this happens, I'm always like, why don't I have a redundant printer, But
yeah, you got rid of both your Prusas?
I have the Prusa. The problem, which we're probably going to do today, we have a part to send out by like probably Monday, the latest, but it's just like twice as long and nothing's sliced and ready. So it'll work, but just got to spend some time rather than just going print. Yep.
Yeah, bugger.
Right.
Not good, man.
I don't know.
So the whole, is it like the whole hot end assembly that you're getting shipped?
Yeah. So they come in parts, and then also a couple of the things can come as assemblies, which is like the nozzles and assembly potentially with a little fan and the heat sink and the wires.
Yeah.
And then the extruder assembly, I want to say, which is like the part above it, which has the gears and pulleys and tensioner thing, is where I think the problem is. It seems that something's happening in there it looked clean. I cleaned it all out too. Like, it didn't look like there's any marring or anything, but it doesn't like it anymore. So I'm gonna hopefully try to clean it out once more and see if that gets it. But
Yeah.
it's always the weather, man, with the printers for me.
Yeah, bugger. No good.
Right. Yes. It's everything. Check.
Things and stuff. Check.
Right. I'll be at that event next week, so
Damn
I don't
you.
know if I'll have time. But you're coming, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. Da-da-da-da.
Oh, start now.
Yeah. Fun.
The DSI Fusion Summit.
Cool.
So it'll be nice. It'll be a nice little time off ish, I guess. A couple days. So we'll see. I think we'll probably get something recorded, but we'll find out.
Our favorite kind of vacation.
Yeah,
Fusion based.
Fusion vacation. It's funny.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well,
Yep.
I got
Well, it's also getting warm in here, so probably about time to turn the AC back on there.
Yeah, get your AC back on. I've got 2/3 of my weekly quote output to finish today, on Friday. So I'll go and crack on with that.
Do it. Right.
Cool.
Right. All right. Good to chat.
Good to chat. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Take care.
Yep.
Bye.